This story follows Tao Sheng, a man navigating the complexities of modern life, career pressures, relationships, ambition, and inner peace. Through different phases of life, Tao Sheng encounters wisdom from ancient Chinese philosophers that profoundly transforms his perspective. Each chapter represents a different stage, focusing on the unique lesson he learns, often too late, but which eventually shapes his path to true fulfillment. Tao Sheng is in his 20s, freshly graduated, and eager to prove himself in the bustling city of Shanghai. He's ambitious, striving to climb the corporate ladder. Despite his enthusiasm, he constantly feels anxious and insecure, haunted by self-doubt and a desire for validation. One day he encounters an elderly mentor, Mr. Zhang, who shares a passage from Confucius on Shujin, self-cultivation, and explains that true success lies in developing one's character, not in wealth or status. Tao Sheng dismisses this initially but finds himself reflecting on the words during moments of quiet, sensing a pull towards something deeper. Tao Sheng throws himself into work, aiming for a promotion. He sacrifices time with family and friends, believing that success requires relentless focus. His relationships begin to suffer, and he feels an emptiness creeping in, a disconnect from those he cares about. After a falling out with a close friend, Tao Sheng remembers a story Mr. Zhang shared about Ren, benevolence, and Li, propriety, which teaches respect, empathy, and treating people well. This lesson strikes him, making him realize the value of nurturing relationships. Slowly, he begins mending ties, learning that harmony with others brings peace within. Tao Sheng continues his work, but now feels overwhelmed by the constant pressure to achieve and accumulate. He is frustrated and exhausted, feeling caught in a cycle of consumption and desire. Tao Sheng stumbles upon Laozi's Tao Te Ching and is struck by the lines about simplicity and the Tao, the way. He learns that reducing desires and focusing on essentials can lead to freedom. He decides to declutter his life, both physically and mentally, adopting a simpler lifestyle. As he lets go of excess possessions and superficial goals, he feels a newfound clarity and peace. Tao Sheng becomes increasingly obsessed with controlling every aspect of his career and life, believing that meticulous planning will ensure success. However, he faces a series of setbacks that he couldn't have predicted, leaving him frustrated. Seeking answers, he delves deeper into Laozi's teachings and encounters the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. He realizes that some things are beyond control and that sometimes it's better to let life flow. Tao Sheng practices letting go, embracing adaptability and trusting the process. As he begins to do without forcing, he finds unexpected success and less stress, realizing the power of aligning with nature's flow. In his 40s, Tao Sheng experiences an identity crisis, questioning the path he's chosen and feeling trapped by expectations. He becomes restless, doubting his decisions and feeling burdened by societal judgments. Tao Sheng reads the story of Zhuangzi and the butterfly dream, which teaches the relativity of perception and the illusion of fixed truths. This opens his mind to the idea that his identity isn't bound by rigid definitions or societal standards. He learns to see beyond judgment, embracing multiple perspectives and reducing his anxieties about others' opinions. Tao Sheng realizes that his anxiety stems from clinging too tightly to certain outcomes in life, especially regarding family and financial security. Inspired by Zhuangzi, he begins practicing detachment, realizing that trying to control everything only leads to stress. Tao Sheng learns to accept life's uncertainties, leading to a calm acceptance and a renewed sense of freedom. In his 50s, Tao Sheng faces conflicts at work as younger colleagues start challenging his position. He feels threatened and considers retaliatory measures. Remembering Sun Tzu's teaching, he refrains from open confrontation and instead uses strategic patience and empathy to address these challenges. Tao Sheng finds that conflict can often be resolved by understanding rather than fighting, and he manages to diffuse situations effectively, earning respect without unnecessary battles. In his later years, Tao Sheng reflects on his relationships, realizing the depth of the teachings on patience and benevolence. He learns to give more time to his family, prioritize peace in relationships, and listen with empathy. He imparts Confucian teachings to his children, helping them understand the importance of mutual respect, family values, and kindness. Now an elder, Tao Sheng begins to ponder the nature of life and death, experiencing the frailty of age. Laozi's words on the natural cycle of life help Tao Sheng find comfort in accepting mortality. He sees death as a return to the Tao, a transition rather than an end. Tao Sheng focuses on leaving a legacy not through wealth, but through wisdom and kindness, teaching younger generations the values he learned too late, but now cherishes deeply. In his final days, Tao Sheng reflects on how the wisdom of ancient philosophers changed his journey. He realizes that while he learned many of these lessons later in life, each has enriched his experiences. Tao Sheng feels a deep peace, knowing he has lived in harmony with himself and others. He closes with gratitude, feeling connected to the wisdom of the ancients, content with the life he has led. Tao Sheng's children share his story with their own families, continuing the cycle of ancient wisdom. They understand the importance of living in balance, respect, and simplicity, inspired by their father's journey. Tao Sheng starts journaling, using Confucian teachings to question his motives, cultivate self-awareness, and identify areas for improvement. A health issue tests his patience, teaching him the value of resilience in the face of physical and emotional hardships. Inspired by Laozi's acceptance of nature, he learns to embrace change by observing how seasons change around him, seeing it as a metaphor for life's ebb and flow. A personal loss prompts him to practice detachment from material things, deepening his understanding of Zhuangzi's philosophy on freedom. He applies Sun Tzu's idea of indirect action, using silence instead of words to resolve misunderstandings with colleagues. A conflict with a family member teaches him the importance of empathy and understanding over asserting his own perspective. He recognizes his ambition, but also learns to temper it with humility, understanding that true achievement isn't always seen by others. Tao Sheng begins meditating in nature, learning the power of solitude to strengthen the mind and heart, inspired by Laozi's teachings on simplicity. He faces professional setbacks, learning to view them as opportunities for growth and change, echoing Zhuangzi's teachings on adaptability. Tao Sheng practices accepting his family members' life choices without judgment, showing maturity and respecting their individual paths. Confucius's teachings remind him to use kind words with friends and family, deepening trust and connection. He opens up emotionally to a close friend, realizing that vulnerability brings strength and authenticity. Tao Sheng learns to stop comparing his success to others, finding contentment in his unique journey. As a mentor to young employees, he finds fulfillment in nurturing their growth without imposing his own views. He learns to recognize his limits, refusing a promotion that would demand too much time and energy. Tao Sheng realizes that true connections are simple, without hidden motives or expectations. Inspired by Confucian ideas of harmony, he practices active listening, making others feel valued and understood. Sun Tzu's principle of choosing battles teaches him to focus on meaningful goals instead of pursuing endless achievements. He learns to forgive a colleague who wronged him, freeing himself from bitterness. Confucius's teachings inspire him to follow through on promises, earning respect and trust. A financial setback tests his resilience, and he uses stoic acceptance to endure without despair. He begins exploring hobbies, realizing the joy of learning without expectation of success. Tao Sheng reflects on past decisions, embracing them without regret, and learning from his mistakes. Inspired by Confucian values, he fosters open communication among family members to resolve conflicts. He reflects on growing older, finding peace in the wisdom that comes with age. He becomes intentional about balancing his career with family time, understanding the importance of both. Tao Sheng learns the virtue of anonymous kindness, aiding others without seeking recognition. He practices viewing others' strengths instead of focusing on their flaws, promoting harmony. He simplifies his life further, reducing possessions to focus on experiences and connections. He reconnects with family traditions, seeing them as a way to preserve values for future generations. Tao Sheng becomes a role model, embodying his values to guide others without preaching. he prepares for retirement, viewing it not as an end, but as a new beginning to explore. Tao Sheng contemplates mortality, finding comfort in Lao Tzu's teachings on the natural cycle of life. In his later years, he finds joy in simple moments, like morning tea and walks with family. He takes time to mentor younger family members, passing down wisdom learned from his journey. He emphasizes to his children that the most valuable inheritance is integrity and kindness. As he nears the end of life, he feels at peace, untroubled by external concerns. Tao Xing reflects on his life journey, filled with gratitude for each lesson learned. He shares his final reflections with his family, encouraging them to find strength within themselves. Tao Xing passes away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of wisdom, kindness, and harmony. His family honors his memory by continuing to live with the same virtues he embodied. Tao Xing explores the delicate balance between striving for success and embracing contentment, drawing wisdom from Confucius's idea of Ren, benevolence. He realizes that one doesn't need to reject ambition, but can balance it with inner peace. A new challenge at work makes Tao Xing reconsider his leadership style. He begins embracing vulnerability with his team, showing authenticity and trust, which leads to deeper relationships and greater respect. Tao Xing faces a critical decision in his business, where he's tempted to take drastic measures. Instead, he practices the principle of Wu Wei, effortless action, and allows events to unfold naturally, resulting in a better outcome than he could have planned. As Tao Xing enters his 60s, he reflects on the years of noise and ambition, realizing that true wisdom often lies in quiet moments. Inspired by Lao Tzu's teachings, he retreats from the busyness of life, embracing simplicity and peace. Tao Xing takes on a mentoring role in his community, offering guidance without dictating solutions. He learns the importance of compassionate leadership, using Confucian ideas to empower others to find their own path. Tao Xing encounters a situation where his ego is bruised. Through Shuangzi's teachings, he learns to detach from the need for approval and begins seeing the world with less self-centeredness. Tao Xing spends more time with his grandchildren, teaching them lessons from the Tao Te Ching and instilling values of humility, simplicity, and respect for nature. He finds joy in passing down the wisdom of the ancients. During a period of reflection, Tao Xing learns that true growth happens in silence. Away from the clamor of daily life, he practices sitting in stillness, listening to his thoughts, and reconnecting with his inner self. Tao Xing is faced with the loss of a dear friend. He learns the deep wisdom of accepting loss, understanding that attachment can lead to suffering, and instead he chooses to cherish the memories without clinging. Tao Xing comes to terms with the changing nature of life, accepting that change is the only constant. This shift in perspective allows him to move forward with grace, knowing that his life is a reflection of the eternal flow of the Tao. Tao Xing has spent his career accumulating wealth and status, but as he approaches retirement, he begins to release attachments to these worldly possessions. This inner liberation helps him rediscover a sense of peace. Tao Xing spends more time at home, where he helps his children reconcile differences and teaches the value of harmony, drawing from Confucius's principle of filial piety and respect for elders. Tao Xing encounters a difficult project at work. He remembers Lao Tzu's teaching on Wu Wei, acting with minimal effort, and learns that sometimes the best way to resolve a problem is by allowing it to resolve itself. Tao Xing spends weeks on a solitary retreat, allowing himself the freedom to be with nature and reconnect with his true self. He learns that solitude is a space for inner growth and understanding. Tao Xing begins to take long walks in nature, listening attentively to the rhythms of the earth. Through this, he discovers that nature's simplicity can provide profound insights into the nature of life and the human condition. Through personal experience, Tao Xing learns that desire for more material wealth or status is a never-ending cycle that only creates dissatisfaction. He chooses to focus on spiritual growth rather than external achievement. Tao Xing facilitates a family reunion where long-held grudges are forgiven. He uses compassion and understanding to heal emotional wounds, learning that true peace comes from within and from understanding others. A serious illness forces Tao Xing to confront his mortality. Inspired by both Stoicism and Taoism, He approaches his condition with calm acceptance, realizing that death is just another natural part of life. Tao Sheng reflects on his life and concludes that true success is not measured by wealth or recognition, but by the peace he's cultivated, the relationships he's nurtured, and the wisdom he's shared with others. A financial crisis strikes his family, but instead of reacting with panic, Tao Sheng approaches it with equanimity, drawing from his past lessons in Stoicism and Taoism to stay calm and level-headed. Tao Sheng reflects on the judgments he once made about others. He learns to embrace non-judgment, seeing everyone as a unique individual on their own journey, which brings him peace. Tao Sheng becomes a teacher to a group of young philosophers. He finds great joy in passing down the wisdom of Confucius, Laozi, and Zhuangzi, teaching not just lessons, but ways of thinking and living. Tao Sheng meditates on the cyclical nature of life. He embraces his inevitable death as a return to the Tao, understanding that the end is not an end, but a transformation. Tao Sheng practices humility even when praised, seeing it as a strength rather than a weakness. He learns that true leaders don't boast of their accomplishments but lead by example. Facing a situation where he feels angered, Tao Sheng practices self-control and pauses before reacting. This moment of restraint teaches him the importance of tempering emotions for peace. When tragedy strikes, Tao Sheng teaches his family to cultivate gratitude for the present moment, seeing even adversity as a lesson in growth and resilience. Tao Sheng learns to integrate action and stillness in his life. He realizes that both are essential. Moments of action require reflection and rest for true effectiveness. Tao Sheng practices accepting what cannot be changed. He lets go of past regrets and focuses on the present, learning that peace comes from acceptance rather than resistance. Tao Sheng embraces the imperfection of his life and the world around him. He no longer strives for unattainable perfection, but finds beauty in the flaws that make everything unique. As Tao Sheng nears the end of his life, he reflects on his journey with gratitude and peace, knowing that his life's work has come full circle. Tao Sheng's final moments are filled with the understanding that his life has been a return to the Tao, a journey of continuous learning and alignment with nature's rhythms. Tao Sheng's family and friends remember him for his compassion, wisdom, and simplicity. His influence continues to inspire others to live by the same principles. In his final conversations, Tao Sheng shares the wisdom of non-resistance, advising others to embrace life as it comes, without trying to control or change everything. As Tao Sheng's life winds down, his silent wisdom becomes more powerful than his words. His presence alone teaches others about peace, humility, and acceptance. Tao Sheng's life is celebrated, and his teachings are passed on, leaving a legacy of wisdom, simplicity, and harmony. Tao Sheng's death is viewed not as an end, but as a continuation of the eternal Tao. His life has been a journey back to the source, and his teachings live on. In his last days, Tao Sheng reflects on the power of inner peace as the greatest achievement, the true source of happiness and fulfillment. His legacy is passed on to the next generation, who continue to follow the teachings of Tao Sheng, proving that wisdom, once learned, continues to grow and evolve. In Tao Sheng's final moments, he peacefully passes away, his spirit returning to the Tao, completing his life's journey. His family gathers to honor him, knowing that his teachings will continue to guide them forever. Tao Sheng enters the final stage of his life with a profound understanding of the Tao, embodying its principles in every aspect of his being. He becomes a living example of simplicity, humility, and presence, allowing those around him to learn through his actions. Tao Sheng reflects on his life's journey and prepares for his death. He feels a deep sense of liberation, understanding that death is simply a return to the great cycle of life. This peaceful acceptance radiates outward, giving others the courage to face their own mortality. He experiences an epiphany about the interconnectedness of all life. Tao Sheng feels at one with the universe and realizes that the distinctions we make between life and death, success and failure, self and other, are illusions. Tao Sheng embraces the natural process of aging. He teaches others that aging is a time for deepening wisdom, cultivating stillness, and letting go of attachments. This chapter reflects the importance of graceful acceptance in later life. Tao Xing spends time observing nature, noting the cyclical patterns of growth, decay, and renewal. He draws lessons from the changing seasons, understanding that human life follows the same cycles, and that each phase has its own beauty and wisdom. Tao Xing reflects on his relationships with others, understanding that true connection comes from a place of mutual respect and understanding. He encourages his loved ones to live authentically and not cling to expectations of one another. Tao Xing shares his wisdom on the fear of death with his family, teaching them that death is simply a transition, not an end. His peaceful acceptance becomes a... Tao Xing enters the final stage of his life with a profound understanding of the Tao, embodying its principles in every aspect of his being. He becomes a living example of simplicity, humility, and presence, allowing those around him to learn through his actions. Tao Xing reflects on his life's journey and prepares for his death. He feels a deep sense of liberation, understanding that death is simply a return to the great cycle of life. This peaceful acceptance radiates outward, giving others the courage to face their own mortality. He experiences an epiphany about the interconnectedness of all life. Tao Xing feels at one with the universe and realizes that the distinctions we make between life and death, success and failure, self and other, are illusions. Tao Xing embraces the natural process of aging. He teaches others that aging is a time for deepening wisdom, cultivating stillness, and letting go of attachments. This chapter reflects the importance of graceful acceptance in later life. Tao Xing spends time observing nature, noting the cyclical patterns of growth, decay, and renewal. He draws lessons from the changing seasons, understanding that human life follows the same cycles, and that each phase has its own beauty and wisdom. Tao Xing reflects on his relationships with others, understanding that true connection comes from a place of mutual respect and understanding. He encourages his loved ones to live authentically and not cling to expectations of one another. Tao Xing shares his wisdom on the fear of death with his family, teaching them that death is simply a transition, not an end. His peaceful acceptance becomes a source of strength for those around him. As Tao Xing faces his final years, he reflects on past mistakes. He learns to let go of regret, understanding that every mistake was part of his path to wisdom. He encourages others to see the value in their experiences, regardless of their outcomes. Tao Xing teaches his disciples that the way we live is the way we die. Through acceptance, peace, and deep understanding, he helps them prepare to face their own deaths with courage and tranquility. In his final days, Tao Xing feels complete. He is at peace with the world, with his loved ones, and with himself. His life stands as a testament to the principles of Taoism: simplicity, patience, and the embrace of the natural flow of life. Even in his final years, Tao Xing continues to teach through silence. His example becomes a profound lesson for those around him, demonstrating that actions often speak louder than words. Tao Xing's teachings spread throughout his community. The people who had learned from him began to pass on his wisdom, creating a ripple effect that reaches far beyond his immediate circle. Though Tao Xing is now in the twilight of his life, his teachings continue to inspire those who seek wisdom. His students begin to write down his thoughts and lessons, documenting his philosophical journey for future generations. Tao Xing teaches his students that true wisdom is not about the accumulation of knowledge, but the cultivation of understanding. His classroom becomes a space for learning through questioning, exploration, and experience, rather than just lecture. Tao Xing's legacy is one of harmony, not only with the external world, but with oneself. His family, students, and friends all embody his principles of living in accordance with the Tao, and his memory becomes a guiding light. In his final years, Tao Xing increasingly embraces acts of generosity. He realizes that true wealth comes from giving without expecting anything in return, whether it is wisdom, material goods, or love. As Tao Xing prepares for his death, he spends time listening to the needs and fears of his loved ones, offering advice when necessary, but mostly listening deeply and offering the gift of his attention. Before he passes, Tao Xing formally passes on his teachings to a new generation. He teaches them that wisdom is not something to be owned, but something to be passed along, like a flame that never dies. Tao Sheng's final teaching is a simple one: live fully, without attachment, and in harmony with the natural flow of life. His words are minimal but deeply profound, capturing the essence of all he has taught. Surrounded by his loved ones, Tao Sheng passes away peacefully. His death is not mourned with grief but celebrated as a natural part of life. His family and disciples honor him by continuing to live according to his teachings. In the wake of Tao Sheng's death, his community continues to flourish. His teachings on simplicity, humility, and harmony influence the lives of